In a world where oceans have swallowed the land, survival is a daily battle, and hope is a distant dream. Meet the mariner, a lone wanderer navigating the endless seas. But when a mysterious girl with a map tattooed on her back and a ruthless gang collide with his journey, the stakes rise from mere survival to uncovering the last piece of Earth. Will he find salvation or sink into the abyss of betrayal, secrets, and danger? This is the story of a man against the tides of a drowned world. As the movie kicks off, we find ourselves looking at a boat floating in the vast ocean. A man named Mariner has been living on this boat for quite a while. Not by choice, but out of necessity. He's turned this boat into his home because, with all the glaciers melted, the land has vanished, leaving nothing but water. The survivors are now drifting around in boats, holding on to the hope that there's still a tiny piece of land somewhere in the world where they can settle down and live peacefully. One day, Mariner sets out to catch some fish but comes back empty-handed. While he's on his boat, he spots another vessel and strikes up a conversation with its owner. He mentions that the sea has a code. When two strangers meet, they should help each other out and trade what they have. However, the other guy isn't interested and flat out refuses to share or accept help. He starts to leave, but the truth is, he had actually stolen some supplies from Mariner's boat and thinks Mariner is just trying to trick him. Just then, a group of sailors shows up, and as the other man moves away, he starts swiping more supplies from Mariner. Furious, Mariner speeds after him, rams into his boat and wrecks it before taking off. The sailors then close in on the thief, attacking and killing him. After that, Mariner heads to a nearby tribe in the sea where he plans to sell some of his belongings. They turn down the idea of buying his stuff because honestly, there was nothing of value in it. Just a bunch of junk. Then he pulls out this big bottle filled with mud. The tribe's chief, seeing that, invites him inside. Turns out, with all the water around, that mud could fetch a pretty penny, and everyone wanted it since it was great for growing crops. They decided on a price and talked to the mariner about giving him 4 coins for it. But since the mud was so valuable, he asked for 8 coins instead, and they agreed, handing over the cash. He took the money to a shop, but it was pretty disappointing, barely anything to buy except a few items. He ended up getting some water and tomato plants, since there was a water shortage and the seawater was undrinkable. He paid half his coins to the shop owner, a woman named Helen. As he was leaving, some tribe members approached him with a girl, suggesting that if he married her, he could take whatever he wanted from their land. They thought this was a good idea because the mariner was strong and brave, and they hoped his kids would be the same, but he turned them down flat and started to walk away, which made the tribe think he wasn't human, but some kind of water spirit. After all, who would refuse a marriage offer if they were really human? So, they wouldn't let him leave and ended up capturing him. Then one of the folks on the boat noticed a strange mark behind the mariner's ear. A mysterious object lurks behind the ears of the water fairies. When he spots it, fear takes over and he tosses it into the water. The fairies retrieve it and imprison him in a cage, plotting to drown him and use his body as fertilizer, just like they do with other humans they've killed. They had plans for the mariner's body too, but chaos erupts when a band of sea robbers attacks their tribe. In the ensuing panic, everyone scatters. These robbers aren't your average thieves. They're wealthy and armed with massive, high-tech weapons, along with some flying ships that are unheard of at that time. They unleash a barrage of bullets on the tribe, leaving destruction in their wake. Amidst the chaos, the shopkeeper spots the mariner struggling in the water and rushes to him. She offers to save him, but he must take her and her daughter on his boat. He agrees, and Helen quickly frees him from the cage. Once on the boat, it's revealed that Helen's daughter has a tattoo on her waist that's actually a map to an island rich in land where they could settle. The twist? The mariner is actually a water fairy, which explains his ability to breathe underwater. He warns Helen that one of them must sacrifice themselves, as their water supply is critically low. If one of them dies, the other 2 will perish from thirst. Helen is really worried after hearing all this, but she manages to persuade the mariner to spare her and her daughter's lives. She insists, "I want to live." Meanwhile, we meet the leader of a ruthless gang of robbers. He's got one eye and a serious temper. He tells his crew that he's got his sights set on a child who has a map tattooed on his stomach. Then he hands out a bunch of cigarettes to his buddies and tells them to enjoy themselves. While they're having a good time, an old man shows up and warns the leader that the ship's oil supply will run out soon. This news makes the leader furious. It turns out he's not just angry, but a bit unhinged too, as he decides to act on impulse. He lights a cigarette and plans to toss it into the oil tanker, which would spell disaster for the ship. Just before he can do it, someone snatches the matchstick away to prevent a catastrophe. After that, the leader orders his crew to capture the tattooed girl. Meanwhile, the mariner is trying to get Helen and her daughter to safety in his boat, but the leader's crew attacks them from the air. To fight back and get weapons, the mariner heads below deck. Helen sees this and fears he's abandoned them, so she takes matters into her own hands and fires at the enemy ships. Her arrow doesn't destroy her ship, but gets tangled in the ropes. The robbers' ship starts circling theirs, but the mariner returns just in time to cut the rope, freeing their boat. However, Helen lost an arrow in the process, which makes the mariner furious. As punishment, he cuts their hair before they continue their journey. They were making progress when they spotted a ship in the water. Helen suggested they head over to it to see if they could grab some food. The mariner was hesitant about approaching the ship, but he decided to follow Helen's lead and went to talk to the ship's owner. It turned out the guy was a merchant who was interested in buying Helen, but he had nothing to offer the mariner in return. Then he pulled out a piece of paper, which was a big deal since paper was rare back then. The mariner proposed that Helen spend half an hour with the merchant in exchange for the paper. As soon as Helen went below deck with him, the mariner followed and told the merchant that time was up. But it had barely been 5 minutes, and the merchant lost it, attacking the mariner with a knife. The mariner, being much stronger, ended up using the merchant's own knife against him. Knowing that Helen and her daughter were starving, he jumped into the water and caught a huge fish, which they all enjoyed. Over time, the bond between the mariner and Helen grew stronger, and he even taught her daughter how to swim. Initially, he wasn't fond of them, but they became great friends. One day, the mariner noticed another boat trailing behind. She is completely puzzled about whose boat it is. However, when Helen spots the boat, she realizes it belongs to the seafarers. She informs the mariner about this. They also express their desire to rescue my daughter, as there is a map of a vast land on her back, which is an island. Upon hearing this, the mariner exclaims that he can't believe it. It seems impossible since the entire world has been destroyed. How could this land still exist? Helen insists that it is true, the land is indeed real. She explains that when she discovered the girl, she had mud in her hand, suggesting that the mud could only come from the ground. Then the truth comes to light. The girl is not Helen's daughter. Instead, Helen had found her in the water while she was drowning and saved her life. This revelation infuriates the mariner, who then locks Helen in a submarine, taking her deep underwater. The submarine is a small enclosed vessel designed for exploring the ocean's depths. Once submerged, Helen sees magnificent structures below, remnants of what once thrived before the destruction. When they resurface, they find the seafarers have drawn near, approaching their boat. One of the seafarers asks where the girl who was with them is. Since they genuinely have no information about her, they respond that they don't know. This angers the seafarer, who then orders their execution. At that moment, the girl, who had been hiding beneath the very boat, surfaces upon hearing the threat against the two. The seafarer quickly seizes her, but despite having found the girl, he remains resolute in his orders, insisting that both the seafarer and Helen must be killed immediately. Before anything else, the seafarer brings Helen into the water. The seafarers shoot at her, but somehow she manages to escape. Helen tells the seafarer, "I'm human, I can't breathe underwater." Upon hearing this, the seafarer shares his breath with her, revealing that she is actually a mermaid. After some time, when they resurface, they discover that the seafarers have wrecked their boat. With no other vessel available, they are forced to make do with the damaged one. They sit down and begin to converse. Then the seafarer spots a piece of paper floating in the water. It turns out to be the same document Sudagar had given to Helen in exchange for her. This paper also features a map of a land where life can thrive. Realizing that the key to reaching this place lies with Helen, specifically the tattoo on her stomach, the seafarer resolves to find her at any cost. However, their ship is in no condition for travel. Just then, a man arrives in an airplane, calling out for Helen. She recognizes him as a member of her tribe, which gives her hope. He takes them both onto his boat and sets off to track down the robbers. After a lengthy search, the seafarer locates the robbers' ship and stealthily boards it. Confronting the chief, he demands the return of the girl, but she firmly refuses. In response, the mariner places a bomb he had brought into the oil tanker, resulting in a massive explosion that takes out many robbers. He then begins his search for the girl, but the chief seizes her and boards an airplane to escape. Just before they can leave, the mariner launches a daring attack, causing the ship to be destroyed in the process. A man aboard the oil tanker and Helen arrive at the scene. With their assistance, the mariner and the girl are lifted up. They witness a massive explosion on the robbers' ship, resulting in the demise of the remaining robbers. However, the chief of the robbers survives and shoots at the mariner. Fortunately, the bullet misses its target, but in the chaos, the girl falls into a well. The mariner quickly dispatches 3 boats to rescue her, but just in time, he saves her by throwing down a rope. Unfortunately, the 3 boats collide and are destroyed, leading to their demise as well. With the chief's reign over, his fate is sealed. Meanwhile, Helen's companion, skilled in reading maps, guides them to land using the map tattooed on the girl's stomach. They are overjoyed to reach this new place and discover a hut. Inside, they find 2 banners belonging to the girl's parents, revealing that this hut was once theirs. They also uncover a tattooing tool, which her parents used to create the tattoo on her stomach. Afterward, the mariner decides to leave the 3 of them behind, taking his boat and heading back into the water, where he feels most at home. Helen and the girl watch him depart. Thank you for diving deep into the incredible story of the mariner with us here at Cine Breakdown. If this breakdown captivated you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more movie explorations like this. Got a movie you want us to break down next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, every story has layers, and here at Cine Breakdown, we're just getting started with uncovering them all. See you in the next video.